just another Sunday in paradise.
Exactly. No rest for the weary.
No rest for the weary. This looks like Lucy.
It is Lucy. The last time you saw that we finished the metalwork and we said she was going to the body shop. Once I got everything welded and ground down, then I sprayed another coat of this epoxy primer over the spots that were bare metal.
The type of primer that we use is like a direct to metal.
Yes, it's a direct to metal. It is made specifically to encapsulate metal and keep things from rusting.
Right.
It is what they consider a DTM, direct to metal.
It's also a DTR as well.
And it's also DTR as well, which is direct to rust.
Okay. And that's not going to make the rust go away. It's just going to stop the rust getting
It
any
helps
worse.
encapsulate it and slow it down.
Right. What are we using in here?
We use a fiberglass or a Kevlar reinforced filler first over any of the spots that we've welded or ground down, just to fill any little minor voids or anything like that. Then we sand that down, and then we use a finishing filler over top of that.
And the finishing filler, what's that? Is
It
that like
smooths out a lot better. There's no pinholes. There's none of that kind of stuff. You prime it, it soaks up the primer nice and well, just like it would the rest of the car.
Normally on a build we do around 3 rounds of bodywork. First round is really just dealing with the major issues.
Correct. In any little places that there was any kind of pitting or anything in the car, you can kind of see here where there was some pitting. Even though we filled that with the primer, when you sand that back out, it leaves a rough spot, so we fill that in. You can see Savannah's went through and filled in all these spots that had the pitting and stuff in it, and that's smooth. So we do this first. This is what we consider the first round. It's a rough cut, basically roughing in everything. Each round that we do, we get more and more detailed. I've wiped this down with wax and grease remover. It's already been sanded to 180. We've waxed and grease remover to get everything off of there. Your fingers will leave oil. If you lean on it or sweat on it, it's oil and it'll react with the paint and it won't stick and that kind of stuff. So we wipe everything down with that wax and grease remover, blow it all out first. Then we'll put another layer of the epoxy primer over top of that, and then we'll sand it again in 220 and do this kind of body work again. A lot of this you won't see again because one round was enough to take care of it. See?
So as you go further through the process, it gets more and more difficult to see where the imperfections are.
Correct.
So in our final one, we will use a guide coat.
We use the guide coat on it. You can get it in white or black depending on what primer you use. This one, we're using a black primer on it because this car is going to be dark.
The guide coat will show where there are any imperfections that you might not be able to see.
Correct. And we use a powdered guide coat. It just goes on. It's a real fine powder, like talcum powder, but it's actually crushed charcoal, and it doesn't react with the paint or anything like that. So you wipe it on there, block sand it. Any place that there's still that stuff, it'll leave a dark spot or a light spot depending on which one you use. And then we'll do a final prime on it and hit it all with 400 grit and get it nice and smooth.
So the last sanding that we do prior to painting is at 400.
Is at 400. That's to give it some kind of tooth, because you can get it too smooth and then the paint will have nothing to bind to. You have to have a mechanical adhesion, which is having some tooth for it to lay into, and a chemical bond as well. That's another reason that we use all the same brand of products if we can. We know the chemistry will all bond together. When you see it again, it'll all be black again, or it may be ugly again, because it gets ugly really quick when you start sanding on it.
Once it's at this stage, you'll go through and do another high build layer, and then the car's all back to being one color again.
Correct.
And then Savannah will come in on Monday and start making it patchy again.
Correct. She will.